You have to show up every day and work, regardless of how you feel. I'm going to say something very logical to you people at home. And if you're stupid, you're not going to understand it. But if you're smart, it's not that difficult a concept. There is no light without dark. 5,000 years ago, the Chinese drew yin and yang for a reason. They are linked. They go together. There is no such thing as a successful person without a failure. Without the failures, there's no success. You need both. For there to be winners, there has to be losers. Therefore, if God is going to give you the chance to become a successful person, He has to make it difficult. He has to lay out a gauntlet, because within that gauntlet, some people will quit and they can go become losers, which allow the people who do not quit to be winners. I think a lot of people think that my life is just running around in supercars and sleeping with girls and smoking cigars. And anyone who's around me long enough actually says, wow, Andrew, all you do is work. Of course all I do is work. I have $1 billion empire. The Matrix is trying to destroy my life. I have endless females to maintain, children to see. My entire life is work. I have to stay in prime physical condition, ready to destroy my enemies. My entire life is work. So when people want to quit, they want to give up, everybody has an excuse, nobody has any time, they will do it next week, they're a bit tired, they don't understand. That's all loser talk. You're not allowed to do that. That is part of the gauntlet. That is the off-ramp towards loserdom. You're on the highway, you're driving. There's exits all along the way to Loserville, Loser Town. When you're tired, when you don't feel like working, when you don't have enough time, when it's difficult, you can get off the highway anytime you want, but if you stay on the highway, you will end up a winner. When I hear people say, oh, it's hard, or I don't have time, etc., all you're doing is telling me you're a loser. Every single winner feels the same as you do. The difference is they do not quit. They do not give up. They do not make excuses. They stay on the highway. It's amazing what you can achieve if you never give up. My saying, unmatched perspicacity and sheer indefatigability. That point is important. Sheer indefatigability. The inability to become fatigued. If you never quit, if you never give up, if you never give in, you're going to get exactly what you wanted. All you had to do is not be a f***ing coward, and you still failed. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't care about excuses. God doesn't care about excuses. And the winners who went through the exact same things you're going through, who didn't quit, don't care about excuses. There are winners and losers in the world. You are either a winner who dedicates himself, never gives up, continues to learn, does everything he knows he needs to do regardless of how he feels, or you're a loser who makes excuses and you stay invisible for the rest of human time. Make a choice.
There's nothing that God hates more than sloth and laziness. If God were to create a man and that man were to sit around and do all, God will frown upon you. It's why you're never lucky. If you're listening to this and you think I'm never lucky, I'll tell you why, because God dislikes you because you're lazy. Start to work. Start to show God the beauty of his own creations. You'd be amazed how lucky you'll become. Wow. God is unhappy with these people. And inside their hearts, they're unhappy. We talk about depression, anxiety, all those things you mentioned earlier on this podcast. You loathe your own weakness. You loathe your own laziness. This is what all of these things are. I don't feel depression. How can I feel depression when I'm the most powerful version of me that I could ever be?
Is happiness the purpose of life? No, absolutely not. The purpose of life is to be competent and successful. If you try and base your life and your mentality purely around how happy you are, you'll end up hedonistic and destroyed.
I think that as a man, your happiness comes from feeling respected over feeling loved. And the reason perhaps you're happy now is because you have more respect for yourself because of the decisions you're making and have self-respect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of men, even if they have self-respect, if nobody else respects them, they're struggling.
I have no interest in being happy. I wake up and say, how can I be proud of myself? What can I achieve that makes me proud of myself? How can I do things that make other people respect me and are proud of me? How do I have a day which I complete when I come home? The woman who's in my house says, wow, there's no man like you. How do I live a life so my children look at me and go, Dad's a superhero? How do I make my mother call me and say, I couldn't possibly be more proud of you? I have duties to complete. I have to live the exact same life regardless of how I feel. So for me, happiness is not a good indicator on how life should be lived. But happiness to me is a super interesting concept, because when people come to me and say, I'm not happy, I say, why should you be happy? They're like, what do you mean? It's like, who told you should be happy all the time without working for it? Happiness is at the top of a mountain somewhere. You ain't been anywhere. You haven't even climbed it. Nobody cares about men being happy. We talk about women being happy. We want children to be happy. If you look at a full-grown man on Christmas morning, he's smiling because his wife is smiling. He's smiling because his children are smiling. Nobody even buys him anything. What do they buy the dad? Socks? Nobody cares about men being happy. So why do you as a man care about you being happy? That's how you're going to fall into these traps. I'm a very content person. I live a fantastic life. I'm not miserable or depressed. I'm not sad ever. But I don't wake up and go, I want to be happy today. No, sir. I wake up and say, okay, things must be done. And those things will be completed regardless of how I feel. Regardless of how I feel. You can lock me in a dungeon for an unknown amount of time in Romania, and I will still complete as many push-ups as I can possibly do. In the dark by myself. What else am I going to do? Sit there and be sad? Happy or sad? The push-ups must be done. It's called duty. It's called honor. It's called pride. So I'm asking you why you don't have them. You could be a genuine force for good in the world. And you know what's funny? The funniest thing, the most ironic thing about all of this is that if you don't prioritize happiness and you prioritize feeling proud of yourself, you end up happy by extension. I'm happy because I'm proud of myself because I have a fantastic life and mansions and supercars and money, most famous man in the world, thousands of love letters a week from beautiful women. Of course I'm happy, but I didn't ever choose to try and be happy. If I would have chosen to try and be happy, I would have never ended up happy.
Most men are walking through life and they don't realize that it's constant competition. Every single pound they want, someone else wants. Every single girl they want, someone else wants. And they're just sitting there just floundering and wandering through life, unaware of how competitive the world is. And this is my point. If the world is truly that competitive, you do not have time to be depressed because it's a non-competitive mind state. You could be depressed for X, Y, Z, whatever. I'm not depressed. And I want the money you want, and I want the girl you want, and I want the status you want, and the car you want, and the house you want. And I'm going to get it, and you're not. I don't give a shit what happens to me in my life. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care if the worst, most heinous things I could possibly imagine happen to me. I know that my sadness, my depression will be temporary because I will never stay a loser. It's against my creed. It's not in my DNA.
I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her, protect her. So I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, this has happened to me, I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice, cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken or, you lost a house or broke or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, my wife left me, I'm devastated. I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to. And you've done so many nice things. And then because of one thing you did, her innate and absolutely insane level of ungratefulness has turned her bitter, and she now talks to you like she hates you over one thing you've done after thousands of efforts showing how dedicated you are to her. And even now that you're prepared to die for her, she doesn't give a shit about you. I understand that pain. But my answer is, good. It's still good. Now take all of that pain, and instead of emailing me, do this. And then you're going to become the kind of person that women don't leave. Then you win.
All of your minds are broken. You can't even focus on anything anymore.
You're right.
You are constantly distracted to the point where you can't even appreciate the good things in your life. You're distracted. Your minds are broken. You need to rewire your mind and resist the slave programming. If you cannot control your own mind, then you are just a feather in the wind of life. Because your own mind is the only thing you can control. You can't control the weather. Right. You can't control other people. You can't even control whether your heart stops beating. You might have a heart attack tomorrow. You can't control anything besides what you think. If you cannot control your own mind, then you go through life with zero control, zero influence. You can't control anything. You're just a feather in the wind, waiting for life to blow you from happy place to sad place to happy place to sad place. Completely hoping on the gods to be fortunate to you, because if any genuine discomfort comes your way, you're f***ed. It's so easy to win if you can control your own mind. It seems that nobody can. Your own father's ashamed of you, and you don't even feel motivated to do shit. It's a shame. If you were to go and look your father in the eye and said, you know what, I could have been a UFC champion. I could have been a multimillionaire. I could have been a race car driver. I could have been a nuclear physicist. Could have done all these things, but I was busy on Pornhub. You think he's gonna be proud of you? No. People who go, yes, I'm wasting my potential. Those are the ones who have potential. The ones who stand up and go, I am wasting my potential. I could be anything and I am not that yet. They have a chance. This is your prerogative as a man. But you need to be instilled with a sense of duty to your bloodline. You must want it. You need to want it deep inside your soul. I can't die as anything less than emperor. As a man, if you don't make yourself valuable, you have no value. You have to get up and do it. Just like a video game, you start with zero. You have to decide if you want to complete it. You have to upgrade your character. So I find it amazing that men are going to play video games and about and waste their time instead of upgrading their character. Everyone knows what to do. You know what you have to do.
You're right.
If you had to become the most dangerous, intelligent, respectable man on the planet, you know you're supposed to go to the gym. You know you're supposed to train, learn how to fight. You know all these things. You don't do them. That's your decision. It's your prerogative. I didn't make that choice. I made the choice to do it all. I decided all of them. And every single man watching this can do the exact same thing. Which is why I have very little pity when I do these streams and people think I'm arrogant or I'm rude to people. But if you've made a decision to be less than you should be, then I believe you should be mocked for that. And me as a man, when I've put myself through hell, when I have had such exacting, such stringent standards for myself, why would I then have less exacting, stringent standards on the people I meet? Damn. Why would I put myself through hell to be me and then meet someone who didn't put themselves through hell and then treat them like my equal? No, f you. I suffered when you didn't. So you're not my equal because you decided not to suffer. You have enjoyed comfort when I haven't, and that's fine. But don't expect me to look at you as my equal because you're not, because I put myself through hell. I put myself through hell because I decided to throw comfort away. For 10 years of my life, I was never comfortable.
I think everybody on the planet has something to. If you walk through life and feel like you have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. If you wake up each day and go, I don't owe anybody anything, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, then you are a loser because you are absolutely not incorrect. You must prove yourself to other people. You must prove yourself to your bloodline as we just discussed. You must prove yourself to God. God hates the lazy. He can't stand them. If he gives you all these genetic dispositions and these natural God-given gifts, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You get to build who you are. Right? You can decide if you want to be a funny comedian or a musician or a kickboxing world champion, fight the Matrix. You can decide whatever you want to be. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? Person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. You know, for 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing because I want to play video games. These people are losers. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion. Fighting the Matrix out here by myself, more. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king? But the peasants, oh, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a loser then. You're a dummy.
My basic premise is that I refuse to believe in things that take power away from me. The idea, I believe, that if you feel depressed, something is depressing you, and you should try your best to fix it. You should take control of your life and do your best to fix it. Let's say your girl leaves you and you start to feel depressed, but you believe in the idea of depression. You're now going to start diagnosing yourself as clinically depressed, self-hypnosing yourself into hypnotizing yourself into being clinically depressed. And it's amazing how you can speak things into existence. I cannot become depressed because I don't believe in it. Let's pretend I'm completely wrong, right? The best option, the best thing to do is still to get up, be an adult, control your emotions, be stoic, and do the things you're supposed to do day after day. Laying in bed and doing nothing is never going to be the best option. The best option is still to go to the gym, to work hard, to run your business, to be successful. So it doesn't matter. We're talking about the different positions on the chessboard. But if the rules of the game remain the same, regardless of the position you're still trying to win, you still have to do the same things. So does it even matter at this point? If you come along and say he's depressed because of X and he's depressed because of Y and he's depressed because of Z, and the answer to all of them is still the same thing, then I don't give a why you're depressed. Yeah, what I'm saying is you're playing a game and it's a competitive game and you need to build a mindset that allows you to be ultra competitive. And if you want to sit there and say, no, I want a non-competitive mindset, then fine. You know what you call people who do not win competitions?
Losers.
Correct. This is just the bottom line of life. And it's kind of interesting because everyone pretends they give a but nobody does. Especially women. Women truly don't give a If you ask a woman the kind of man she wants, she will never say depressed or sad. Ever. She wants a man who is ultra capable, ultra competent. They want someone who is fun and spontaneous and charismatic and successful. They don't have time for sad dudes. They don't care. So the world doesn't care. The world has never given a shit about sad men. So if you're going to sit there and self-diagnose yourself as a sad man, you're going to have a shit life and nobody's ever going to give a and you're going to perpetually lose forever. And that is your decision. I am so scared of being that person.
I absolutely and utterly completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it. Happiness is the number one thing that must be earned. And I'll tell you that my happiness is based on very real world achievements. I couldn't be happy if I was broke. I couldn't be happy if I was obese. I couldn't be happy if I was lonely. I couldn't be happy if I wasn't respected. I couldn't be happy if I couldn't whoop a dude's ass. I couldn't be happy in those scenarios, so I made sure none of them scenarios came true. I have earned my happiness via hard work. It's the top of a mountain which I have climbed. I deserve it. I deserve to go to sleep with a smile on my face. Just that's what I deserve. And every single guy who hasn't got it probably doesn't deserve it. The universe is very giving and very fair. People seem to think that the world is unfair, and those are all the same people who tell themselves they're unlucky. I actually believe the opposite. I believe the universe is a very giving place. I believe God is a very giving being, and that thing, the world, all in all, generally balances out and is pretty fair. If you're the kind of person who deserves a good life and works their ass off and genuinely wants it and tries very hard, guess what you get 99% of the time? A good life. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't really deserve it, slacks 3 days a week, a little bit lazy, he snakes his friends, talks behind people's back, blah, 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 guess what? Your life ain't all that good. The universe is pretty fair and pretty balanced. I've yet to meet somebody who gets up every day, does what they're supposed to do, works hard, goes to the gym, then goes to work, does their best, makes their money, looks after it, is sensible, doesn't blow it, etc., who then fails. I've never met anybody who fails when they do all the right things. The universe is a very fair and giving place, all in all. There are very few exceptions to that. So when I see somebody who doesn't have the success they want, especially when I see, let's say, a group of people who don't have the success they want, there's no way you're all exceptions to that rule. You may want something, but you certainly don't deserve it. And that's why you don't have it.
The idea of that terrifies me to the point where I don't even want to accept that as a reality that can possibly exist. I don't give a shit what happens to me in my life. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care if the worst, most heinous things I can possibly imagine happen to me. I know that my sadness, my depression will be temporary because I will never stay a loser. It's against my creed. It's not in my DNA. So they try and convince you, don't worry if you're being a loser because people feel sorry for you and you'll get attention for it and you'll be okay in the end. And it's all this temporary fixes of dopamine by saying, I'm sad. Don't worry, bro. You'll be okay. But it's bullshit. They don't care long term. The world doesn't care. Nobody really cares. Chicks don't care. Business doesn't care. You are going to fail.
You can have anything you want on the planet. There's not a girl I look at that I want that I can't have. Not one. That's my reality. There's not a car I can't have. There's not a house I can't buy. If I want to go to a yacht, if I want to go to Antarctica, there's nothing I can't have. Bam. Because I've decided to become this man. It's the same for absolutely every single one of you at home. If you actually try and you actually want it and you're actually not making excuses, lying, talking shit, you're going to get what you want. So when I see people who don't have what they want, I consider them losers. And this may be elitist. I understand that. But if I put myself through endless pain to end up where I am, it's very hard for me to have sympathy on the man who's afraid of pain. You're avoiding pain. I've been through endless. I now have everything I've ever desired. You have none of the things you desire. Am I supposed to feel sorry for you because you took the easy way out? Am I supposed to look at you and go, oh, poor dude? No. You were a fucking coward. You didn't go through the shit I went through. You didn't put it on the line. So you deserve your substandard reality. That's what you deserve. You're a fucking loser. Because if you actually wanted it and you actually tried, you'd have it. You could have anything you want. Universe is super giving. If you want it, you can have it. If you're sitting there saying, oh, but I tried my best and I still didn't get it, you're lying. You didn't try your best. That is a fucking lie. The universe gives it to everybody who genuinely tries. And I know that to be a fact because this world's competitive. We're all competing against each other. And the majority of people don't try. Like I've achieved this amazing life and I've tried very, very hard, but it could have been harder. You just get to a point where you're like, I'm tired of hearing your fucking excuses. That's bullshit. And you become to a degree, cold and psychopathic. It's true. That's what happens. And I get it all the time. I get thousands of emails a day Everyone I grew up with, people I know, I get it all the time. They'll message me, hey man, just unlucky. You are not unlucky. You are a lazy fucking loser. You are not unlucky. You're breathing. You're lucky. The unlucky ones are gone. You're alive and you are a lazy loser. So a loser is anybody who does not have everything they want at the drop of a hat. That's who I call a loser.